All right. Well, welcome to this week's ECONversations podcast for Southwest Riverside County Economic Development. Happy to be joined again by Mr. Scott Agajanian with the City of Murrieta, Ms. Kimberly Davidson with the City of Wildomar, and Mr. Rob Moran, the Business Partner of the Year for the Workforce Development Board for the County of Riverside, who works for Riverside County Economic Development. So, thank you all again. We are going to talk, since we're closing in quickly on the holidays with everyone trying to figure out to get their gift giving shopping done. We thought we would talk a little bit around the idea of shopping local, shopping small. How can we help a lot of those businesses that have been hurt a lot this year with some of the different closures and what have you. So we thought we'd share some different ideas. I'll jump in and I'll give you one that, because this was a conversation that just took place a few days ago between my wife and I, as we were looking for an idea of what to get for our son's aide at school for Christmas, because we wanted to get her something, and we've done a few different things. And I had said to her, I said, what we should do is we should get a handful of different gift cards from local restaurants. It could be the Witch that's right here in Murrieta, because they're a franchise and locally owned. Could be, the Finch, the Mill, could be, there's so many different places. And these are, businesses that have been hurting a lot. Let's get a handful of them. We can give them out. Then that way they don't necessarily have to use them now if they don't want to, but then they could go and, have a whole week's worth of meals, whenever they so choose. And my wife thought that was a great idea. And so it's beneficial in both parts. So I think that, thinking about it from that standpoint is a good way to do it. So.
I love that idea. Yeah.
Kim, it's not only a good idea, but when Patrick decided to get one of those gift card trees for each of us with locally sourced gift cards, yes. I thought that really pushed it to the next level. And I want to thank him for that.
It's in the mail.
You know what's really fun is if you have a friend for the holidays that is a new parent or something like that, you could actually do a gift like a date night out for them. Maybe you even give them a certificate that you'll watch their kids for them for a couple hours, but you give them, a gift card to Epic Rollertainment and to the Finch for dinner, and give them like a whole night out. And it really wouldn't cost that much money. I mean, depending on how close you are to this person and how much you want to spend, but that'd be a great way to give someone a really nice package gift that would incorporate a lot of businesses between the two cities.
And what a fun night that would be. First of all, Finch is delicious and Epic is so much fun. I want that night tonight, for goodness sakes. That sounds like so much stinking fun.
It would be a lot of fun. And, we've said it in the past, but it's worth repeating here again. Now more than ever, this year, more than ever, every dollar you spend in your community is a vote for what kind of business you want to see there. I think in the past, your vote kind of maybe got a little bit more absorbed into the mainstream than it is now. Bless you, Rob, if you just sneezed.
Just a couple. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to interrupt.
But now, because because of the pandemic and the shutdown and everything that's been going on this year, now more than ever, if you really want those small businesses and local businesses to survive, you really have to get out there and support them and really make a deliberate decision to do so.
Absolutely. And can I also, as I always do, focus on the B2B side of this, the business to business side. If you're running a budget and you have the opportunity to shop local and you don't know who to use, call your local chamber of commerce, ask them, hey, who fits into this category? Because they always have a referral for you. And their whole goal is to make sure that you're shopping local. So many times we think, hey, I've got $100 in the bank and I've got to go buy these gifts and I don't have enough. And how do I do it? And you're trying to shop local and you're making that little dent. That helps. But when you're shopping on behalf of your business, you have the opportunity to support a local business and then make sure that they're supporting you too. It's a two-way street out there. And when you start having that kind of community that businesses support each other, it's going to come back around to your business, but you're going to be supporting local and you're going to be doing it at the time when people really need it.
Yep. I love that suggestion.
Yeah. I think there's some other cool things. I know, Kim, you had mentioned this before we kind of came on the air, was the idea too of looking on Etsy, look for those local. I think there's two great opportunities there. One is Etsy, because on Etsy, you can go in and actually search the city for people who are making stuff. So, I challenge you, go on Etsy, find the drop-down menu, go to, where you want to look regionally, put in the city and see what local crafters are selling. Might come up with a whole new idea of a present that you never thought of. I did that for some of the staff presents for this year, because I wanted to be able to do something where I'm spending the dollars more locally as much as I possibly could. The other cool thing is, and I just saw this over the weekend as well, is our local theater here, Reading or Reading, depending on how you want to say it, is they've been, all the theaters have been struggling this whole year, and they're not a big chain. They're based out of LA, but they're a great community partner. Well, they just started doing a thing where you can rent one of their theaters for $250, and I think you can bring in like between 10 and 30 people, like your family and friends and that kind of a thing. You can do it socially distanced, all those kinds of things. I mean, how cool is that to be able to have your own private movie theater, and do that as a present for someone or for a family that or some of us know some of those families that are like, 10 to 12 kids too. So
yeah,
it's the greatest, because the first thing that happens when you go to the movies, right? You might have a completely empty theater, but somebody has to come sit right next to you. And not only do they have to come sit right next to you, they have to come sit right next to you with popcorn. And not only do they have to have popcorn and candy that they have to unwrap that's really loud, they have to chomp it as loud as they possibly can.
Their cell
So
phones
here's
got
your
muted.
chance
Yeah.
to have people you can say, hey, shut up and sit across the theater. I don't want to be near you.
I only sat next to you that one time, Scott.
And it was so loud, and you still cried at the end of Forrest Gump.
Every time.
One other idea too that I just was able to take part in, some of our local limo drivers and transportation services are offering some different, there's a limo driver in the area that will take you for 2 hours to look at all the holiday lights in our valley. Well, not all of them, it's only 2 hours. So whatever, you can go to Bainbridge, and we went to the Griswold house over in Temecula, and she will take you anywhere that you would like to go within reason. For you basically have the limo for those 2 hours. You can bring up to 8 people. It was $150, but really, if you check with maybe if you know of a local limousine or transportation company, since they aren't able to do so many of their private events that they're normally used to doing, some of them are willing to get creative and get outside the box. So maybe for a certain amount of money, you could take your family on, just go out and see things or whatever, go on a sightseeing tour or whatever. And I'll tell you, my kids, I was the best mom on the planet for about 2 days. For $150, and it helped out another small business owner as well. So it was well worth it. But sometimes you can also get creative and offer up an idea to a business owner at this point, and they may be willing to take you up on it if they're not able to do their normal services right now. So that's something to think about too. And that limo ride we'll have memories from that, and it was very well worth the money.
And what a great idea. It's just another good story of pivoting businesses that realize that my normal market's not there, but I've got to do something creative, and I've got to figure out a way to be, useful in the community. And what a great idea. And you've seen that so many places. And one thing that I think we always do is we talk about this after late November, and everything becomes localized, and then we forget about it come January 1. And I think the real lesson this year is we've got a few more months to go to see some kind of clearing here. And we need to remember to shop local as long as we possibly can. I know, and aren't we just part of the problem by talking about it today here in December or whenever this airs, but it's December 14th in our world. And isn't it terrible that we're talking about it right when it's really useful, but it's going to be useful in January and February and March. So, really think about this. How can you support local going into the new year? And how can you support especially restaurants? When restaurants are able to open on the patio, if you're ordering and you can do takeout right now, go and support your local restaurant, because we want to see those stay open. Those are just crucial to having a good, solid comeback when we pull out of this.
Well, and that's a great point, Scott, but I'm hoping, am I echoing?
Nope.
There, is that better? I'm hoping too that, as some people, maybe people who don't otherwise know what it means to shop local or shop small, because it's not part of their daily routine like it is, the four of us on this call. It truly is our daily routine, but it might not be everybody's just yet. But what I hope is that, even by us talking about it, and they branch out and they do contact a business, or they do give a business owner an idea for a holiday gift, that they start to find out how easy it is to work with a lot of our business owners here, and how willing, even in normal times, really, how willing a lot of our business owners are to shift and pivot and accommodate for even some creative ideas. And so hopefully just, trying to focus on it even for this 1 month, or even this one podcast, that maybe people will really start to see how easy and fun it is to maneuver around the small businesses that we have in this valley, and that you can really get a lot accomplished and help out a lot of people in one fell swoop. Once you kind of get the hang of how to do it, and how willing people might not know how willing our business owners are very often to accommodate within reason, but we have some very creative, very great business owners here. And if you're part of the community and you've never maybe had that introduction to a business owner, and you've never really had that experience, hopefully doing this and having the opportunity to reach out and get an experience like that will start giving you new ideas of how to do that within the community too.
Yeah, and then it becomes habitual, and then it's just a part of your common practice. And what I was really excited about this year in the festive holiday spirit is that Rob Moran has actually created a Shop Local song. And that's why he's got the headgear on, and I believe he has an instrument he was going to play in his office there, and he was going to share it with us all today. And Rob, I at this time, I think we should let you take it away and sing the Shop Local song.
Oh, he's on mute.
You're
Oh,
muted.
I was going to say, you're going to have to order that off iTunes or something, or Amazon Music, because you got to support the small business. No, hey, one of the things I was going to add, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Scott. And you touched on Etsy and so forth, but one of the things I've discovered too that's kind of cool, which I'm sure we're all on in one shape or form or another, is Instagram. And that there's a lot of, again, kind of like Etsy, but different, is that there's a lot of like some micro businesses that aren't necessarily retail in the brick and mortar sense, where they've got a shop in downtown, but they're just crafts people that, for example, I found a person that makes leather goods, really cool, handmade leather stuff, not ridiculously expensive, but just things that it's a one-person shop in their garage that they've converted into this leather working facility that may or may not ever have a shop on Main Street, but this is the way that they make their living, and it's made here in the United States, and it's good quality, and you're supporting sort of this micro business. And one way you can find that is, a lot of times if you're on the, like Made in Murrieta Instagram group, or, buy and will, there's different, there's a little different groups like I Love Wildomar, or whatever the name of these groups are, that you're going to start, if the further we all go down the social media rabbit hole, you're going to find these little businesses that are a part of it or liked by some others. And you're like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. And then you can follow them and buy some cool products that you might, you're never going to find even in some of the brick and mortar, because they may never get there. They just do this as a one-person shop, sometimes out of their house. So those are pretty cool businesses to support as well. And those people support the local economy, and they're the sole proprietors that maybe they have help from their family members, and maybe it's just them, but those are people that are most definitely worthy of our support, and exactly where it's going. And a lot of times too, they'll do really unique and customized things that you're not going to get from somebody else that's maybe mass producing, or
That's right.
a reseller. They'll make you a specific design because you said, hey, I want to see this flowers or heart or whatever, and they'll put that in there. So kind of cool that you get a little bit more of a personalized experience.
Yep.
That's an amazing point, actually, and it's kind of painful at the same time, which is, social media, as horrible as it is in all forms, actually does create some local commerce, right? It creates some local sites that allows you to find people that you might not have found. And in the last week, against my better judgment, we've actually found a service and a purchase of a product on social media that my wife had searched out and said, I can't find this anywhere else. This is unique and crafty, and we've utilized it. And that is a way to find people in your backyard doing work that you might not know of otherwise. And yet still stay away from social media otherwise. Local shopping only, otherwise save yourselves.
Yeah, I think, to the point that Kimberly, you and Scott were making is that I think that the educational aspect of the shopping local is something that is coming on all of us is to do on a regular basis, right? Is that, we know that 7 out of $10 that are spent locally stays within the community, longer than, or what is it? 7 days, it'll change hands 7 times before it leaves the community. Whereas if it's spent at a big box or online, it leaves the community almost immediately. Important things like that make a big difference on spending locally. Also understanding what is a local business, right? Because we talk about, I mentioned the Witch, but I ended up, we did a small business Saturday program again this year, and I had one of our small businesses kind of, reach out and kind of blast a little bit because we had included the local Denny's in that and the local Witch. Well, yes, they're national chain names, but they're owned locally by local residents. I mean, and that makes a huge difference. And certain things like that, and we need to be better at making sure that we're sharing that story on a regular basis.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised. I mean, Dunkin' Donuts here in Wildomar and in Murrieta. Both Dunkin' Donuts are owned by the same gentleman who lives in Murrieta. His kids play sports in Wildomar. I mean, he's very much in our community. Our grocery outlet in Wildomar was just opened up by 2 twin brothers. It's owned and operated by them. So we actually have a lot of big Barron's Market is family owned. Both the Murrieta and Wildomar, all of them, but the Wildomar and Murrieta locations are locally owned. So kind of to Scott's point earlier, that if you don't know, either contact your local city government and, one of us, or the chamber, the Murrieta Wildomar Chamber, and ask, what is locally owned and where's the list of the locally owned businesses, so that you can get a better understanding of what those are and where they are. Were you gonna say something, Scott? I think I cut you off.
I was going to, and then I heard the merriment of the holiday season around me from my family, so I was muting myself tonight. Share that with all of you. I think that they're having a wrapping party right now with locally sourced goods. So yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that a lot of us don't recognize. You so often walk into a shop and say, oh, I think that might have been the owner, working behind the counter, but you can't always tell. You can't always put your finger on it when you're looking at a corporate store versus a locally owned store. But who can? Chamber of Commerce. They know who your local owned stores are. Kim Davidson knows who your local owned stores are. Rob knows everything about Instagram. Between them, you can find out what's local in your community, and that's a really good point, because the goal here is to keep the dollars local and to support local small business for as long as we can, because you got to think 9 months of this that businesses have been going through a just absolute unpredictable, terrible wave of business ups and downs and opens and closings. And they're getting very, very close to the end of that road, but there's still a road to travel, and we want to see them survive, and we want to see them subsist through this time, right? This isn't the time that you're making them rich by shopping there. You're just keeping a business open. So help support that business right now, because it's not that much farther until the end of the road.
No, that's a great point, both of you, and further to that same point about the franchisees and so forth, is that not every franchisee owns 30 of whatever it is that they own, and they've got regional managers, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's fantastic, that somebody's worked really hard to get to that level. That's not something that someone just hands you. They've built that up over years and years. So they're an important part of the regional economy as well. So I want to make sure that some of those people have just grown, and they're the American success stories, and those are fantastic. But I think I think that sort of the small, truly small business is, some of these franchise owners just own one, and they don't have 3 or 5 or 10 of these franchise. They have the one yogurt shop because they had to spend tens of thousands of dollars to pay the licensing franchise fee and they still have to pay ongoing and run a business and make money, and so just because it may have a name that's corporate and it's recognizable doesn't necessarily mean that it's part of 50 or the whole entire chain. And again, we're not bashing the American success story here, but we're just trying to help support those that they're 100% all in on that one, maybe couple locations that they have, that they don't have a big structure. It's just one small business. Maybe.
Yeah, really just trying to define local, I think, is all we were trying to do. Our McDonald's between the Murrieta and Wildomar are all owned by one family as well. So again, what might not appear to be a locally owned small business to somebody might be very deceiving on the outside. So, but we're always happy to provide that information if you're interested and want to know who to support.
Yeah, and at the end of it, I think Rob and Kim, you both make a great point. Rob, you're talking about, the investment and the risk that an entrepreneur takes on in order to bring that business to your community. And it really can't be understated. You have people who have taken huge amount of risks, trying to usually fulfill some kind of a life dream, right? Of bringing a certain kind of industry that they were passionate about and that they've wanted to bring to a certain community, and they've chosen your community. And, lucky us for all of those people that are out there choosing our communities to open their business. It has been a really good time the previous several years before us, as far as seeing businesses come home, stop taking you had people who were driving to San Diego to run a business who decided, hey, I'm going to, turn my commute around. I'm going to open it in Wildomar because I trust Wildomar, because I love the clientele and I love my community and I think it'll be successful here. So we've been really beneficiaries of all of these entrepreneurs out there, and we're lucky to have them in our community. And that's really what we're trying to appeal to here, is that it's not just about getting the thing. It's about the fact that we built a community that's based on having great amenities and having great resources and having great experiences that we have in our backyard, just because people have taken that chance to bring it to us.
And as a plug for those that want to do that, remember, you can reach out to any one of us and we'll help you figure out if that's something you want to do. But we also have this great network of SBA funded small business development centers that can help you talk through and think through those ideas and concepts and whether or not entrepreneurship is for you, and whether or not, just because you make the best calamari on the planet, can you turn that into a restaurant that's going to make it? And those are, we got a great support system, a great ecosystem here in Riverside County. It starts on the 5 or 4, videos you see in front of you, screens, people.
Kim's double dipping with her phone.
That's right. She is. It's a little bit cheating, but that's okay. Come to any one of us, and there's a great support system for you in Riverside County if you want to start your own small business. So important to make sure we mention that.
Yeah,
that's right. Businesses still are starting right now. And I love the way, Rob, when you speak, I feel so comfortable and relaxed. It's almost like you said, hey, boys and girls, it's your Uncle Rob. And we want to we're going to support your business when you come in. And it is truly that feeling
my
here.
neighbor.
This is Pollyannish, but our community really does feel that our businesses are part of our family.
Yeah.
Well, and I just
Very
want to
true.
say too that, this in no way indicates that we don't like big business, but that, you need both in your community. You need a nice mix of the big box stores and the big retail and the big names, along with a lot of small business. And, we would have not a very good valley here if we didn't have the Walmarts and the Targets and the Starbucks. You need all of that too. Absolutely. So hopefully nobody gets us wrong that we're not saying, that we're saying don't go there. But you would also have a very boring and pretty bland community if that's all it was made up with. The small businesses and the locally owned businesses in particular are what give you the atmosphere for your community. They're what really create the gathering places and the opportunity for collaboration among people in your community, and just the opportunity to really gather and get to know one another. You don't really do that at Target. You don't really do that. Just try to do it at Starbucks if you can find a seat, but that's not the point. The point is we have to have a nice balance. But typically those national brands tend to do okay on their own without us telling you to go out and support them. And the ones we just kind of have to be mindful of going out to support are the small businesses.
That's a supremely good point. And I love the kind of the opening of that conversation into tenancy, because, you know, what you talk about is the blend that a community has, right? If you have all of one thing in a community and nothing of another, you don't have a good retail blend, and then there's no reason to shop in centers. And the same thing happens in individual shopping centers, right? If you don't have good co-tenancy, you may go in and buy the one thing that you need, but you're not going to stick around and shop in the other stores if there's nothing else that appeals to you within that center. And this, I think, is really where somebody like Kim and Rob, you know, we all kind of tie in, which is our goal is to create a blended retail tenancy within our city and within our centers to make sure that people have shopping experiences that are useful for them, right? So that when you go out, you have the opportunity to eat at the restaurant or go to the grocery store. And if we're lacking in those things, that's what we have to look at from a recruitment standpoint, is how do we bring those things into the community? And that's where we get all of the good opinions from the residents who come out and usually tell us all the things that they'd love to see in the city. And that's actually really useful a lot of the times, because that helps us understand where the pinch points are, what people are missing out on.
Yep.
And I think that goes back to one thing that Kimberly was saying earlier too, which was that whole idea of you vote with what you want to see by where you spend your money, right? So if you're spending it on just big box chain type stuff, then that's what you might see more of. But if you want to see, you know, more eclectic type, you know, retail and restaurants and things of that sort, they're going to look at that kind of data from what is already existing in the area and use that to find out what is the best thing to bring here next.
Yep.
You know, and that's always, Patrick, is that something that you get phone calls from your residents in kind of the region you cover, where you'll get somebody say, hey, I'm looking for a unique restaurant to try. What do you guys recommend? Is that something you and your team can help folks with?
All the time, and especially working with the local hotels and stuff as well. When you have people who are here from out of town, like where do I go? What do you recommend? What's good? Oh, without a doubt.
So call your local chamber of commerce, important part of the business.
So everybody call your chamber, and then tell your friends to call your chamber, and let's see if we can all call the chamber at the same time.
Well, and you know what, Rob, that brings up a great point. When we are all allowed to travel again and you're out and about and you're visiting another city, call up that chamber before you head off to that city and get their opinions on where you should be headed. That's a great point, because then you have the opportunity to support business in that other town, wherever you're headed. And, you know, you hope that as more of that catches on as a thing that we should be doing, then conversely, people will do that more when they're coming here, you know, and contact the chamber and really get a laundry list of the small businesses and the unique experiences to really help them. I don't know about you guys, but when I go out to when I'm in a different town, I love going to the local small restaurant. That's where the locals are eating.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you get the flavor of the town you're in. You know, if you go to the same chain that you could have gone to when you were home, I don't know that you're getting that same flavor of where you're at, you know. Might as well have just stayed home. But so I love looking up small businesses and local places and checking that out. It's very cool.
Completely
every
agree.
city has a handful of really great, unique restaurants that you don't know about until you go search around, right? I remember working in West Covina in my early younger days, and just being amazed. It's like some of the sandwich shops that have been there for 75 years, or the Brazilian barbecue place that was amazing. It made that city unique. And Murrieta's got those restaurants, and Wildomar's got those restaurants. And that's what kind of gives your city its food personality, right? For all the foodies out there that get really into those eateries. And that's what you kind of look forward to when you go to that place, right? I can't wait till Rob has meetings in Riverside, because I know exactly where I'm going to go eat when I head up there. And Patrick, you do too, because we're going to get those buffalo fries. It's amazing.
Oh yeah.
So
where's that?
It's in the food hall. It's in the food lab.
The lab.
Oh,
Yeah.
my
Food lab.
God.
I
Those
want to be
buffalo
invited.
cheese fries.
What's this? How come you're just going with Patrick and Rob? What's going on?
Well, Kim, you're going next time too. We're all going. We're going to make a thing of it, and we're going to support
Just
a
making
local
sure.
restaurant. So, but every city has those opportunities, and that's what makes them fun and unique. And that's what you kind of look forward to when you go visit those towns.
You know, he operates that one down in Temecula too.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I think it's the one at Wolf Ranch or Vale. I'm sorry, Vale Ranch.
Oh, okay.
Isn't there a food hall over there?
Oh,
There's
the
like an
Vail
outdoors.
headquarters.
The outdoor,
no,
yeah.
Vail headquarters. Yeah,
I believe that's the same.
the tiny little one, but I know what
Jerry
you're.
Tessier, I think it's the same guy.
I'll be getting takeout soon.
Oh, and speaking of which, we have restaurant week coming up.
That's right.
January
Yep,
17th
January.
through 21st, everybody.
That's
Patrick,
right.
do you have
So
the
if you
flyer
really
that we
wanna
can put up
try
on the screen
some-
right now?
What's that?
I said, I think there's a flyer that we could put up on the screen right now.
Maybe not quite yet. We're still
Heather will
working
do
out the
Heather can
full
add that
details
in.
on that.
Heather can throw it in for us. Yep.
But yeah, we're going to be having restaurant week in January, and you'll get to try out all of the really great eateries between Murrieta and Wildomar. We have several. I'm very happy because I love to go out and eat. So it's like, you know, I can remember moving here 20 years ago, and there really wasn't very much opportunity in this valley to go out and eat. And now it's you really struggle to figure out where you want to go for dinner. It really comes down to what do you feel like eating, and then which one of those you want to go. We have a lot of different options between Murrieta and Wildomar. We have a lot of different types of food and different types of atmospheres, and just really a lot of high-end food, farm to table, really good
And it's
stuff.
great that a lot of the local stuff is independently owned and run, right? I mean, that gives you that unique flavor, which is really
Yep.
cool,
And-
both literally and figuratively.
Ha ha ha. Patrick got plenty. So, you know, one great point about that is I didn't realize how much I really enjoyed getting not drive-through fast food, quick serve, but actually taking out from a restaurant. It's something I just didn't do very much in the past. You know, if you were taking something home, you were driving through and picking up something. But if you were getting a restaurant, you were going out to eat.
Right.
It's actually really great to bring home prepared food from a restaurant. And some of the restaurants have done a great job of creating that environment that maybe they weren't doing so much takeout before, but they are now. And so some of them have gotten really, really good at it. And I really enjoy it. It's actually just a different way of doing dining. And it's gotten very comfortable.
And you know, it's the cost really isn't that much different. Our fast food establishments, their prices have gone up a tad. And I think that our even some of our high-end restaurants, for some of their entrees and some of the specials that they have, it's very competitive. So it's not even, I've noticed it's not really even a cost thing. It may be a convenience thing as far as a drive-through versus non-drive-through. But other than that, and I feel like a lot of our independently owned restaurants have really done what they can to make curbside pickup very very convenient as well.
And a lot of them are offering family deals, which is great for me because then I get that and my family looks at me and goes, what about us?
Scott.
So they only eat like Wednesdays and Fridays, and you
Yeah.
eat the other days.
Survival of the fittest, Rob Moran.
Yeah.
Survival of the
There's no such things as leftovers in the Agajanian house.
Well, you know, it's interesting. You know, I think we've talked about this before, not to belabor this, but you know, it'll be interesting to watch, both from the small business standpoint as well as chains and so forth, how much of this becomes a permanent impact or a permanent change. Not necessarily an impact, but it's how many more times does Scott say, I don't really want to pack up my 34 kids and go to the dinner. I just want to, take the wagon and load it up full of food and bring it home. And do that because nobody wants to get dressed up. It's just more convenient to stay playing on the phone and do all the things that kids do. How much more that's going to be versus, all right, getting home, changing, then we're going to go out again. How much of that permanent impact is going to be there? I'm curious.
It's true.
I
Yeah.
don't know what that, I think Darth Vader is on our
Darth, yeah.
call. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on. But you know what, I'll make one more point that I just thought of really quick. Like today I was thinking I really need to go to the grocery store and get some groceries. And then I thought, well, feeling kind of lazy, I thought, well, I could call Instacart. And then I thought, you know what, I should do an Instacart because that is helping someone locally then. Because someone locally is, when I've had Instacart delivered or DoorDash or whatever app you like to use for that sort of thing, when I've had the opportunity to chat with them, on my front porch, a lot of them are trying to make a living, especially during these tougher times. So if you do have the opportunity and you enjoy the convenience, consider doing a DoorDash or an Instacart or an app like that, because you are then helping someone with their business of being, say, an Instacart runner, shopper. So that helps me when I'm feeling lazy. I think, well, I'm helping somebody else too, so I'm just going to do that. So if it helps you to be lazy and still accomplish, not be lazy, I can actually get my shopping done and keep working is the point,
There you
But
go.
yeah,
There
I
you
don't have
go.
to take time off and, head off to the grocery store, but, and you're helping someone else too, because there's people out there that are really trying to make a living by being the shoppers for those apps and that sort of thing. And I think they do a great job. They're really trying to, make a way for themselves by doing that.
Yep. Very good. All right. Well, I think that'll wrap it up for this week's edition of the Southwest Riverside County Economic Development E-Conversations. I want to thank you guys for joining us again. We'll probably take a few weeks off for the holiday breaks, and we'll see you back here in 2021 and hopefully off to the races with a very good and positive, prosperous new year. So I want to thank you all for joining us, and thanks again for tuning into the E-Conversations podcast.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays.